Hello, and welcome back to Unfiltered with Matt. We're here to review episode 5 of Queer as Folk on Peacock, and I'm actually pretty excited to dive into this episode because I feel like finally we're getting some momentum. With any new show, there's always the buildup of getting to know the characters, and in this episode, we finally get to enjoy getting to learn a little more about them. In this episode, we do have Noah and Julian in more development there, and I was really excited to see that. We got to see that Julian and Noah are having an intimate moment together. And after that, Julian expresses that he doesn't want Brody to know that he is with Noah. And to tell you the truth, I think it's time that they let Brody know, because honestly, Brody has had too many people cater to him and has gotten away with a lot and making other people upset and never getting any consequences of any of his actions. So I think it's about time that Julian and Noah just make it known that they're together. Later we see that Noah asks Julian on a date, and it's kind of cute because Julian is giving, I think, some tutoring lessons to a student, and Julian's talking about, like how he likes Noah, and Noah is, having a difficult time in himself, but he comes to Julian and says, "Hey, I think we should go on a date today," and Julian immediately says yes. And like I said, it's good that they're finally, just taking time to enjoy and get to learn more about each other, because having that additional obstacle of someone else in a relationship who's not even in the relationship is really just going to make more things more difficult. I am worried about Brody finding out, but you know what? I think that sometimes just for the safety or development of a relationship, you have to, push ahead. I mean, in this episode, we also get to learn that Noah is having difficulty at his job. Obviously, with the events of Babylon, Noah has been not working at his full capacity. He's been calling out a lot, and his boss does tell them this. And I really thought it was interesting the way the boss confronts Noah. He says, "We care about you a lot." I'm not even sure if he says a lot. He says, "Hey, we care about you, and you have a choice to make. You either want to stay or go," which is like, okay, you just said you care about me, maybe saying like, "Hey, let's give you a little space to recruit and then you can come back refreshed." No, it's just like, "Hey, we care about you. You can go or stay." Now that's really showing that you don't care at all. I think that's the least that you can do. Just show someone you care about them. It's like, "Hey, make a choice. Stay or go. Whatever, it doesn't matter to me." Later on Noah and Julian's date, you get to see a moment between them, and I think this is the first kind of, besides the conversations that they've had, surrounding like, "Hey, let's go into this relationship," and things like that, you finally get to see, you know, Julian and Noah kind of admit, some inner struggles, and you get to see that these characters are really having a development between them. And Julian admits that he's always felt like an afterthought with Brody and his family. Uh, and I thought that was nice as far as that opening up of something, like deep, dark secrets and things like that. I'm still worried about things going sour between Noah and Julian. They do have a real connection. Noah admits to Julian that he quit his job, and he also confesses to Julian during their dinner that there's two things that have made him happy. And I didn't think that we were going to hear any more about Dadius because I felt bad talking about Dadius and saying terrible things about Dadius. But here we learn more information about Dadius, and it doesn't do him any service. So Noah admits that him and Dadius had a lot of fun, and they were doing meth and tweaking out and screwing each other, basically. And right now, after the loss of Dadius, Noah has been gravitating to doing meth and drugs to get that feeling back that he had. And I can understand the difficulty because, to be honest, like my boyfriend when he had his stroke, and it's not even a year, I kept on gravitating towards certain memories back. I didn't have anything like, hey, let me do drugs to get back there because something we shared together, but I can understand having difficulty letting go of the memories of somebody. I can understand trying anything you can to at least get something back and get a taste of what you once had. So I do feel for Noah here in regards to this. And I was kind of relieved before, like I said, we were done with Daddies, but apparently Daddies is back, and so I guess I can trash talk him again, which I feel terrible for. I can definitely tell what Daddius and Brody were friends because, you know, you both have both of these characters who have taken advantage of others and have little regards for others, and also are a bad influence on the other characters in the show. So, I mean, sure, Daddius went through a lot, but it's no excuse for, you know, hurting someone or just ignoring their feelings like Daddius did at the club when Noah was in pain. I do think that Daddius used drugs to drown his pain that he had experienced with his family, right? And unfortunately, Noah went down that same path. When Julian is confronted with this information, just like I was thinking, like, how would I respond? But Julian does not know what to say at all. He just says the comment basically, he didn't think he could top meth. And it kind of ends there. Later, Julian receives a text message from Noah, and Noah says, "I'm sorry, forget I said anything." And Julian doesn't respond. In that moment, I was like, what the heck? Say something. You know, you say you care about this person, and if you really do, you maybe are prepared for at least some information to come about. This is what I would have said to Noah if I was in a date with Noah. So let's set up everything for a date. All right? Romantic. I would have been like, thank you, Noah, for sharing that. I'm sorry for all the pain you went through. I'm here to help you in any way. And hopefully you don't feel like you need to go down that path again. If you do, I think that we can get help together. And if you ever need to talk, I'm here. And then I would reach over and grab his hand. But no, Julian says nothing. I mean, eventually, fortunately, Julian comes to Noah and he tells him that he's scared as Noah's the only guy that he's woken up with. Noah asks Julian to stop saying each time that they have sex is the last time. Julian says they don't need to tell Noah yet. Noah says that, hey, Julian, please stop saying it's the last time that we have sex. I think Julian has used that to keep a safe distance, to not get hurt by Noah. And I've, to tell you the truth, in relationships done the same thing of like, most of my relationships when I was dating someone that I was, you know, really was different for me, and also that they were also very attractive and also led a very different life for me as far as like where they were with financially, career-wise. I kept myself at a distance as far as like letting myself open up, and they definitely confronted me about it and said like, hey, not sure if this is working out, and it was my fault. And I think that, you know, with Julian saying that every time to Noah, he's protecting himself, but at the same time hurting the relationship. We tend to hurt people when we try to protect ourselves. Really happy, you know, that's kind of the arc with Julian and Noah in this episode, and I was really happy to see that development. In this episode, it's also Mingus's birthday. I love the connection between Judy, Mingus's mom, and him. I would like to see more of them together. Mingus is looking forward to spending time with Brody. Again, you know, Mingus is very young, and I fear that he's going to get hurt with Brody, but you know, his mother says to Mingus, like, hey, just be careful, and I could completely understand. There's an older man, you know, who my son likes a lot, more experience, also probably more likely to hurt Mingus and is not as seriously invested as, let's say, Mingus thinks he is in this relationship. And Mingus gets upset with his mother when she gives him a wig, because Mingus says, I'm done with drag, and he's still going through the pain of Babylon and everything in connection to drag and that experience. And then he runs away. A lot of people run away in this episode. I think that's one thing that Brody and Mingus, like I said, have in common. I mean, back to the obsession with Mingus and Brody. He goes to this wrestling drag show, and he's really excited to see Brody. He hugs him, and, you know, Brody has this awkward look on his face, like, you know, I'm not sure what to tell you, but I really don't. I think that you're getting way too serious about me. You know. And, you know, Mingus, to his credit, does confront Brody in this episode and tells him to stop lying and just tell him he doesn't want him there, just to be honest. I mean, Mingus, unfortunately, sadly, also feels that Brody's the only person that understands him, which makes sense because, you know, the shooting and Brody saving him. And Mingus feels that maybe, you know, Brody was brought to him by fate, because, you know, maybe that darkest day of his life wasn't the darkest day because he also met Brody. Later in the episode, Mingus decides that, you know what, with Brody pissing him off and him being really upset about the whole situation and mixed in his emotion. I mean, he's a young kid, and, you know, having, you know, this person just like you and give you hot and cold feelings, Mingus decides, you know what, I'm going to fight you in the ring. And he does. And it was kind of an awkward scene because you see Mingus really going at Brody, letting his emotions out. I'm like, okay, you know, this is a raw and real moment. And Brody's like, oh my gosh, what's going on? And then Brody is beaten to the ground by Mingus. And Mingus is on top of him, and he just laughs. And I really wasn't sure what the closure was there. But it seems like no matter what, that Ruthie and Mingus are always going to forgive Brody. And unfortunately for Brody, I think that doesn't help him as a character, or help him grow, because he's just going to continue messing up and doing things without any consequence. At the end of the arc for Mingus in this episode, his mom's waiting for him. He gets, you know, back from the drag wrestling show, and, you know, he has a piece of birthday cake with his mom. You know, his mother asks how it was, and, you know, Mingus says, like, he's his mother's daughter, and it could be a good thing depending on the day. It is interesting, though, on the contrary, Brody's pushing away Mingus, and at the same time says, hey, Mingus is the only person that has made him feel good as a person. We also get developments with Ruthie and Cher, and I think this is probably the biggest developments that are going to be pushing forward to the next episode. We get to see that Ruthie's finally watching the kids. So, and Cher is finally taking time for themselves. I thought it was really cute, the scene between Cher and Ruthie, where, you know, Cher comes out all dressed up for the show that they were going to do, and Ruthie says some sexual comments, and, like, Cher's like, oh, not from the kids, oh my gosh, you know, stop. And I thought it was, like, really cute. You also can see that Cher is very talented as a drummer in the band that they're in. And you also get to see, like, when Ruthie is watching the babies, that, you know, she's distracted by Brody and almost drops her baby when she's holding them, and gets emotional and says that she hates this while the kids are crying around her. You know, so Ruthie is really struggling, you know, with the responsibilities of becoming a parent. And like I said, there's, like, an immaturity there. And I'm not, it seems like Brody and their combination just brings that out between them. It brings out the worst in them. So meanwhile, while Ruthie's watching the kids, Cher is going out, having fun like we talked about. They are asked by the friends if Cher can stay out longer, and Cher says has to go home to their family. And when Cher gets home, she can immediately tell that something's wrong with Ruthie and tries to ask. And Ruthie doesn't really give much answer. I think you get to see that Cher, despite them having this good time and other things that they enjoy outside of the relationship, they understand the responsibilities and the commitment that they've made to having a family. Ruthie is struggling with that. And Ruthie lies and says that she's going to a gym to work out. And you could tell that Cher knows that Ruthie is lying. For some reason, Ruthie, like I said, and Brody, Ruthie and Mingus both have this obsession with Brody. So Ruthie immediately gets to the party we see, and she is concerned about the students being there. And this is the first time that I've seen with the character her show some concern and some responsibility and thought outside of it. Maybe the cracks between, hanging out with Brody and always having to be there are starting to get to maybe to Ruthie. I don't know. Maybe. I don't know. Cher also indicates to their friends that, and I think talking to Brenda, Cher indicates this to Brenda when Brenda calls them when Ruthie's out, that they're concerned that Ruthie is not on the same page as them. And I really like the conversation between Brenda and Cher. Let me backtrack for a minute. Because Cher expresses during the episode that they are concerned that Ruthie is not on the same page as them. And we know this from what we've seen of Ruthie. And I think that sometimes we're in denial, right? You can see something really in front of you and everyone else sees it before you because you really want to think the best and hope for the best. And I could see Cher doing that. I do like that Cher and Brenda have this cute moment when Brenda calls Cher over the phone and tells them to turn on the TV. And in the conversation, Cher says, "Hey, I think that Ruthie's out with your son who's a bad influence." And Brenda goes, you know what? Brody is a bad influence. I can't not deny that. So as the episode ends, we get to see that Cher sees a post that was created by students of Ruthie showing Ruthie hanging out at this wrestling drag match, drinking. And Cher knew that Ruthie was lying, but it is probably disappointing to get that validation. When Ruthie comes home, Cher's asleep. Ruthie's about to go to bed, looks on her phone, sees a TikTok of the students posting about Ruthie, and that's where we kind of end the episode. So potentially Ruthie is going to have consequences in the next episode for the actions of going to that club, not only in the relationship with Cher, but also at her work. So I called it. Ruthie, a little irresponsible. I was a little surprised that she still had a job, and now it's coming to the forefront. I hate to be right. So I really did enjoy this episode overall. Ruthie as the character needed to hit a wall at some point for development, and I'm happy to see that she is going to have that conflict, because I think through that we're probably going to get to learn more about Ruthie, and we're not just going to see the character as maybe this just irresponsible person and just like a sidekick to Brody. Cher's always picking up the slack and things need to change. Brody, we're still in the same kind of stuck stance with him as a character. And he needs to realize eventually that how many people he's hurting. Otherwise, I think by the end of the show, he may be alone. I'm staying with my belief that Dadius is not a good influence. I'm glad to see Noah and Julian have a deeper connection. And I really am thinking that we're probably maybe going to see a little more about Dadius, maybe a little more than I want to, because I feel bad that the character died. And through this, all the reviews of the episodes, I've had to say bad things about the character and his actions, and now I have to do it again. And I feel like, if anyone was like going to be told like, "Hey, you really hate Dadius," they'd probably come up to me. So, what did you think about this episode? Did you feel the same way I feel about Dadius? I really enjoy hearing your comments and reading them. Like, subscribe, leave a comment. I'm really excited to review the next episode. And until then, stay safe. Thank you.